attribute. Africa, according to me, seems to be the lame dog. When you grew up in a village like I did in Cameroon, when you see a lame dog limping, he looks left and right for safety, for peace. That lame dog doesn't know that as he's limping, it's only limping in sacred because no other deck is coming to his rescue. That seems to be the fate of Africa. Limping in circles because the problem persists. I visit Africa every time, twice a year, presenting papers at universities. And my mind always goes to what Ali wrote in his Triple Heritage and other books that I've read. Africa lost its bearing with the departure of Julius Nyerere, Patrice Lumumba, Kwame Nkrumah, Thomas Sankara, and of recent, Nelson Mandela, Chinua Achebe, and now Ali Mazrui. These were the visionaries of the continent of Africa, who were articulating the unity and self-empowerment of this continent. But somewhere, somehow, we have drifted from their messages. We have not heed the clarion calls for self-empowerment and unity of that continent. And the question is why? Ali Mazrui has gone and left us with the state of that continent. Today, the continent is replete with leaders who loot the national coffers and stack them in Swiss bank accounts. Ali warned us that future generation was not going to be unkind to us. Now that he has died, what have we done to the ordinary citizens barely scraping by to live in the continent? Ali advocated for an Afrabia. Again, an Afrabia, the unity of Africa and the Middle East. Today we live like people from different planets, whereas we were one block, and our divisions are being exploited by the outsiders. Ali Alamin Mazrui advocated for an Africa that is not solely dependent on everything from the West. But today we are importing weapons of mass destruction from the West to kill our own very people, thereby providing wealth to the West. Ali also warned us that we are appropriating Western modes of production without thinking about sustenance and maintenance. It is not uncommon, according to Ali Alamin Mazrui, to find in Africa, as you watch in the video, abandoned structures, abandoned airports, abandoned buildings, railway tracks built by the West that colonized the continent. And in our aim to fix these abandoned structures, we invited the very expert from the West to help us with these structures. But they charged us exorbitant rates. And because of the debt burden of Africa, that is why those structures are still there staring at us, exposing the decay of the continent and our own self-decadence. So let's keep depending. He has left us still knee-deep in that dependence. And Ali Alamin Mazrui, quoting Alexander Pope in his Triple Heritage, and I quote, "A little modernity is dangerous. Drink deep, or taste not the western spring." Unquote. We keep drinking. We keep tasting. Now that he has left us, we have to reflect about our destiny. Like Ngugi wa Thiong'o of Kenya, Ali Alamin Mazrui advocated for a language for Africa, for Africans. He stunned delegates and heads of states at the OAU summit in Addis Ababa by doing what by speaking in Kiswahili. And of course, the head of state and delegate were scrambling for headsets for a translation into what, English or French, the very language. And of course, the translation was not there. He had made his point. The continent that was colonized by the West should not be using their own very languages for a major organization like the OAU or the AU as of today. And of course, even making them national languages in the various countries. It's ridiculous. So that is why Africa, again, seems to be the lame duck that is limping in circles, thinking that the problem will solve. But no sooner than later, the lame duck will notice that it's limping to its grave. Ali Alamin Mazrui died in the United States of America, not in Kenya. He was that prophet that was never accepted at home, we are all told. But why? His ideas, quote unquote, were looked upon as radical. But these were the very ideas of the Nyarare and Kwame Nkrumah. How was it radical? They were looking for fairness, political fairness, empowerment of the continent, and you call it radical. Like most of us in the diaspora, our ideas are seen as poisoning the well in Africa and also poisoning the spring waters of Africa. And so what do? We disseminate our ideas from the fertile soil of the West. We are incapable of rallying forces to solve our own problems. We go begging the West to solve Ebola crisis for us. That is the lesson Ali Mazrui left to us. He has impacted in his books and television series. Ali Alamin Mazrui said maybe the ancestors of Africa have cursed us. Again, he said maybe the ancestors have cursed us. He wondered why hordes of educated Africans are not returning to the continent to uplift it from decay. And now the dictators loot the continent with impunity, and our votes don't count. This is the legacy that he has bequeathed to us. And now that he has died, who is going to pour libations to the ancestors to ask for forgiveness? That is the question. Again, we are a limping, lame duck, not going around in circles, because the problem persists, but limping to our grave. On a personal note, when I watched the YouTube video of Ali Alamin Mazrui being taken out from the Western-made coffin and wrapped in a white loincloth and lowered to the grave in Kenya, I was devastated. Why? The question kept haunting me. So this is it? This giant scholar of Africa being wrapped on a loincloth and just stuffed into mud? Was he dying in happiness or in sadness for the continent he fought for? I don't know about you, but his death is still shaking me. What am I going to do to follow his dreams? Am I going to be that lame duck, circling in circles, wallowing? Or am I going to follow his dreams and that of Nyerere, Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, and Nelson Mandela? Or I'm going to go around continuously in circles. Maybe, just maybe, there is hope. Just maybe. Thank you for listening to me.
Good afternoon. I would like to relate a story I tell my students. A few years ago, as you all know, when students finish their 2-year coursework to do their PhD, they're told to come up with a topic that would be original, that would change the world, that nobody had ever discovered. So one student had undertaken a topic, and she came to me and she said, you know, I thought I was going to change the world with this topic. I give up. I said, why? She said, I checked the libraries, I Googled, there are over 500 books and articles on my topic. What new thing am I going to produce? I say this after all the eloquent presentations of my predecessors. I feel like, what am I going to add to what's been said? So I'll proceed with my presentation only because a good story has to be told and told in different voices and in different ways. But in the interest of time and also saving you from repeating the things you heard, I'll skip over some of the stuff, but forgive me if as I ramble over my notes, if I repeat some of the words. A good illustration of the larger-than-life biography of Ali Mazrui is the vast number of pages of his work recorded not only in the 30 or 50 books outside our lecture room, and countless articles displayed here and in many places, but also the huge volume of electronic media, public records, and achievements he has bequeathed. In fact, if you Google, guess how many responses you get if you Google Ali Mazrui? 52,700. So if I read this, it would be 6 months to go over his contributions and what would have to be mentioned as a tribute to his work. The list of 20th century awards include Lincoln University with a distinguished professor appointment by the University of Guyana, and many other on top of the multitude of honors bestowed upon him by Harvard, the University of Jos in Nigeria, McGill, Colgate, Cairo, and in Singapore. He was selected as mentioned earlier, as one of the top public intellectuals. And you see his contributions acknowledged by newspapers, radio stations, journals all over the world. And his work that took him different parts of the world included his association with universities in all parts of the world, from his homeland, Nairobi, Makerere, to Nigeria, to Oxford, Harvard, you name it, all the universities that either gave him appointments of special status as a senior, most prominent scholar, or as a intellectual who would be engaged in many of the works he did. Since, as mentioned earlier, numbers and statistics usually bore us as human beings. That's why he was great, because in the great African tradition, a storyteller, a story tells much more than 10,000 figures or numbers. So, by way of showing a sampling of the responses to his work, I would like to cite some of the tributes that were offered to him around the world, just a few. His appreciation of Mazrui's significant contributions to the visions of the United Nations, including UNESCO. Uganda-born Ami Otura, professor of history, international and human rights at the University of Connecticut, remembered Mazrui as a Pan-Africanist and innovative thinker who put Africa on the world map by popularizing African ideas. Otura says that Mazrui lived his life as the great Pan-Africanist Kwame Nkrumah would have wanted us all to live. Sheikh Ahmed Kari, senior lecturer at the Islamic Institute, wrote, Professor Ali Mazrui passed away, but he didn't go. He was an outstanding Muslim academic and public intellectual, genuinely concerned for the future of his community and the human family. Referred to by some as a postmodern Ibn Khaldun, he was a scholar of diverse interests who wrote profitably on issues of Africa, culture, globalization, and Islam. A highly accomplished academic and public intellectual, he had a passion for new ideas and was intrigued by the paradox of the human condition. Similarly, Twain Fulola, who is the current president of the African Studies Association, he said, the Colossus, with the feet of steel, joined his ancestors in the early hours of life. Ali Mazrui was larger than life, the most prodigious scholar of African politics. His multiple talents combined creative work in elegant prose and poetry with polemics, a teacher, orator, journalist, filmmaker, and public intellectual. He was arguably the most connected and best-known African scholar for over half a century. There will be a legion of tributes in his honor and all over Africa and elsewhere. My tribute will be limited to the place of language. He picks language as a dimension of his work to praise and to pay tribute to. He attributed to him that language as a vantage point to indicate his appreciation. I choose two dimensions, two aspects of his work by way of concluding my presentation. And one, as we say in social science, the macro aspect, and one micro, but the micro is bigger than the macro. The macro aspect is where his scholarship with his comparative analysis of the Asian and African experience with modernity, emphasizing his call for a healthy synthesis of traditional heritage and modern values. Mazrui eloquently showed that Africa should attain a good balance of honoring its history, culture, and indigenous knowledge with the imperatives of global civilizations, setting the objectives of avoiding the paradox of westernization without modernization. Mazrui said the vision of stressing in order to transform cultural substitution into cultural expansion and connection that has to be established with the local scene. The imperatives of indigenization seeks to localize resources, personnel, and effective control. Consequently, Mazrui outlined the strategy of domestication, cultural classification, and responsiveness to more than Western civilizations hold the key to the future of Africa's dignity and prosperity. The second part, what I call the macro, but which is bigger, is related to what Pauline Mazrui pointed out and others connected to. And that is his humility and his humanity, which sometimes the big statistics don't show. And I chose an interview he gave to a journal about his history, about his life. It was an autobiographical description of his life. A lot of times you've seen how assertiveness courses talk, how you should talk about yourself, how you should speak big, and you see many of these prominent people talking how they were destined to be big, how they were extraordinary children, very knowledgeable, and all the kinds of accolades they have. And to my surprise, but not a shock, listening to his wife and the others, he chose the path of the tradition of great religions, faiths, and cultures that take humility as a basis of exemplifying themselves to society. I was reminded of Martin Luther King's quote. He said, when you paint a picture of me, don't paint me as a holy person, as a saint, as a demigod. If you do that, nobody would want to aspire to do whatever good there is. Paint me as a human being, and people can do the good things I do and learn from the mistakes. And in this spirit, he said something that I, as a member of Harvard University, the HBCUs, pride themselves as upholding. They call it, when they have students from children of ex-slaves, underprivileged families, they come not as highly sophisticated with training from different sources, but as rough diamonds. And these universities remove the rough diamonds and create them to be great doctors, great leaders who have transformed the world. So he pointed out, when he was young in Mombasa, this is a story he told in his words. In Mombasa, early on, he didn't take education too seriously. So he flunked. He made bad grades. And he couldn't be accepted in good schools, which to us would be a shock that he would be. But he said, as he was trying to find his way, he couldn't find a job. He said he got something to work in one of the areas, and he said his first job, it turned out, was a job without a pay, which sounds similar to how his brother half pointed out. And he said, as he was struggling and got a little job in one of the places there, he still didn't give up on applying to good universities. Because no university would accept him. He said, how would they accept him with all the bad grades? But he kept filing in forms. And they made fun of him. He related this story. They said, oh, Ali is writing his annual application. As he persisted, he showed how resilience, hope, and strength paid off when he is given a chance to go to college in England and his first break in Makerere. And at the end, he talks how he shined and came to his own greatness, level of greatness. And at the end, he makes this statement, which I like, would be my way of ending my presentation. He said this: I would want to be remembered the way Makerere wants to remember me. They've tried to convince me that I am worth something. They believe this is somebody special. I like to believe Makerere is right. They've taken years and years to convince me. This is the sign of a great person who uplifts, who affirms the smallest person, the big person, the person in the street, to hope to be the best that God meant them to be. And that's why the institutions here that co-sponsor this, the ambassador, all you are here, have come together to honor his legacy, to tell his stories in the civic organizations, in the African Summit, by the Library of Congress as the biggest institutional member in the world. We'll tell his stories to our students, to our neighbors, to our constituencies. And that's how we make his legacy alive and promote this for future generations. Thank you.
There are three reasons why we wanted this tribute section to be at the end, Pauline. I think many of us wanted to express to the person closest to Professor Mazrui our respect, our gratitude, and our love. And he is not with us. And in honoring him, we wanted to console you. The second reason is that we want to assure you collectively that your husband's work will not die. Not in this library, the Library of Congress, not in libraries in Africa or in England or anywhere. And the third thing is, I know that everyone in here, you saw this film put together by Dr. Chow and this talented young man. Is he still here?
Yes, he's here.
Yes. Stand up, please, and accept again another round. And these brilliant scholars who just spoke with us, when you know them personally, you sometimes forget the depth of their intellect. Everybody was doing this and in effect almost showing off for you. But in all seriousness and in all sincerity, I want to say to you that I have seen firsthand where you've been. No man or no woman can dare to accomplish Herculean feats if they don't know that there's another human being that's with them. With them when they're weak, with them when they're fragile, with them when they're afraid. Not the public persona we see, but the real human being. And you never, ever left him. If everyone had a partner like you, Pauline, I believe that we would have many more great people. Amen. the honor of addressing us, and I have the privilege of saying on behalf of all of us that we are immensely pleased that you are here, because now we understand that our good professor has truly passed. And while this is temporary closure, it's not goodbye, because we know we'll see you again. You're going to be among us, and we're going to make sure that your name, as was his, will be remembered. Pauline, can you please address us?
I'm very humbled, moved and touched by the love, support that everybody here has showed. I want to thank the Library of Congress, the African Society, Triple IT, Howard University, ladies and gentlemen in the audience. I'll tell you a story of Ali as a son, a brother, a husband, father, and a community member. Ali, as you all know, was born in Kenya, Mombasa, 1932. He has 5 children, 5 boys and a girl. He took ill November last year. And I learned a lot from him during this period. I saw that fighting spirit, the resilience in him, the humbleness in him, the appreciation he had for all the people who came across his way, taking care of him one way or another. The nurses and doctors who took care of him anytime they entered the room, he welcomes them with either a salute this way or a smile. When they did something he appreciated, give them thumbs up or peace. So that's how it's. Ali as a son never forgot where he came from. He loved Kenya, Mombasa, his Swahili culture was quite eminent in his life. He will always tell you that I'm a Mombasa boy. He took care of his elderly people, which is custom in African tradition and Islamic way. We take care of our elders. As a brother, he helped people who were behind him or people who were ahead of him. As a husband, he loved, he cared, he reached out. He made sure. He was married twice. His first wife, Molly, they met when they were students in Manchester. And when the marriage ended, they had 3 boys. They shared 3 boys. But the relationship did not end. So Molly and her current husband, visit our house and spend the day, the night with us. They are home. We went to Michigan, same thing. So we kept that cordial relationship. As a father, he loved his children. He disciplined them out of love, not out of frustration. We had numerous conversations and debates. You need to see them at the dinner table. A lot of debates go on. As a community member, anytime he's called upon to give lectures, talks, or anything, if it's available, he will go. He had a problem with his quote-unquote agent because he said, anywhere they call you, you just go. I don't want you, you have to be this. And he said, alas, no more agents. Yeah. I want to reach out to people. He's very adventurous. As he will tell you that controversy is his middle name. So any activity that is being done for Ali or Ali is not there, if there's no comma, then Ali has not arrived. He told the story of when he was with Dr. Jamal in Malaysia. They had gone to this skid riding. Say, my God, this man has courage. That's Dr. Jamal. He brought the pictures. He said, can you imagine me with this? I said, yes. But it's a memory and picture and experience that lives with him. Because anytime he sees water, when the kids were learning to swim, and I say, okay, let's go into the water. I say, you want to be a Dr. Jamal here? It comes to sharing. I told the story about his, at the end of the month, he's a man who never wanted to accumulate wealth, earthly wealth. When we first met and we got married, one evening after dinner, he said, this is how much I make, this is how much we pay for rent, this is how much for food, and this is how much for my words. You are a very young woman. Will you want to stay or will you want to go? That's how we started our life. And alhamdulillah, thank be to God, we've never lacked anything. The kids are in school, the three big boys finish their college, have their families. The two young ones are in college, and the youngest one is in elementary. Our house, I grew up in a very large family. My grandmother will always say that a house is not a boat or a ship that covers size. So if you can be 10, 50 in a house, but if you live out of love, that house will remain afloat. So my grandmother had a very open doorways, and that was what I also brought into my home. And alhamdulillah, I had a husband who embraced me. So at any given time, you come to our house, it's an open house. We have Ali will tell you that people give him too much credit. That is just a vessel. What he does, like the last speaker was saying, he emphasized volunteerism. Why? When he failed his school sat, he couldn't get admission, they would say nobody would touch me with any stick. What he did, his uncle said, okay, there's this school. It was a school open for Muslims, students from different parts of the world. They were sent to Mombasa. The colonial masters then wanted a school of trade for Muslim students, kids to learn. So his uncle said, well, there's this school here. They have an opening, but they don't have money. But you can go and work there. And anytime they have resources, you will be paid. So he said, okay. He started working, Myomi. The school now has been turned into Mombasa University, isn't it? Yes. So, and part of it named after him. So it was in that school where he was volunteering during the birthday of Muhammad, peace be upon him, that he wrote an article, he wrote a presentation. And after the presentation, the then governor of Kenya said, who is that boy? Send him to my office the next day. So he was told to go to Nairobi to meet the governor. And he said, the governor wanting to see me. Why? Ali doesn't drive till the day he died. But he had wanted to be a taxi driver. Why? Because he loves meeting people. So when he got to Nairobi, the governor said, what are you doing in that school? Well, he told him his stories. I said, okay. For somebody who can write and present such paper, we'll see what you will do. Apply. So the next year he applied. Instead of getting the famous, we regret to inform you, he got, congratulations, you've been accepted to go to England to do his redo his A level. And when he got there, he challenged himself, which was, like he would say, over ambition, because he was asked to take 4 classes, he took 6. Just to prove himself that, yes, I can do this, and I have been given this second opportunity. So I encourage him to tell young kids this kind of stories, that when you try at first, you don't succeed. Don't just give up. Try again. And when you are given that second opportunity, make good use of it. So Ali got his first degree in England. He came to New York, got his master's, then went back to England. He is from a very political and activist family. His grandfather, his father, like the ambassador said, they are a family who don't believe in injustice. So he will always stick his head out, no matter what. Some instances, like in Binghamton, there was a time, I think these Palestine issues, they were going to give lectures and everything. Somebody called me and said, tell Prof not to come to school, not to take part in this thing, students are planning. So I told him, he said, you are kidding. I didn't get to where I am today by sitting back by hearsay. It means they know that what they are doing is wrong. So I will go there, I'll be a voice for the Palestinians. The issue of quote unquote female circumcision came up. The same thing. He said, it's wrong. It's cultural. But we have come a long way that this has to be stopped. People think that in his place he doesn't talk about women a lot. He will always tell you that I was raised by 4 mothers. His father had 2 wives, Then he had 2 elder sisters and other things. So he loves women and he appreciates and he listens to their suggestions and to their ideas. I will tell you that you don't only love or befriend people who speak good of you. You also have to respect people who criticize you, because that's how you will learn. I remember when he had this debate with Wole Soyinka. A lot of people were telling him, don't answer him, leave him. He said, not to answer your critics is a form of arrogance and a form of rudeness. You just have to answer them because they're all fine. When we travel, he's a man who takes his duty very seriously. We'll travel, we'll say, well, I'm going for this lecture this morning. Leave my medicine till I come back. I said, no. If you are sick, you won't come back to give this lecture. Say, but you know, some of this lecture make you sleepy. And I don't want to be sleepy, addressing my audience. So he loves the crowd. They rejuvenate him. I mean, when we give you the shirt on his back, just to make sure you are fine. But Ali, at the same time, is selfish. You see? Well, his selfishness coming in the sense of, don't stop me to do this. I want to do this. I will do it. Whatever the consequence, I will bear it. But when it's time for him, when his selfishness comes in, Ali might be watching TV. He's engaged in the news and you're telling him something. If he doesn't finish that thing, you're not going to get that attention, you know. Or we'll all be in the family room watching something. So as soon as he walks in, it's not asking, what are you folks watching here? News channel. So we'll all look at ourselves. So once we hear his footsteps coming, you know that it's time to surrender. You know? We have TV in the other parts of the house, but we all like to be in the family room. Yeah. So, like I said, Ali's death has really, really, really humbled us. My 2 younger boys that went to Mombasa, probably you saw them in the grave there. When they came back, Harith, the youngest one, wrote a paper for his sociology diversity class. I was kind of very impressed and taken aback, you know, the paper he wrote about his trip to Mombasa. He started by saying that most of the stories you hear in the media about Islam is violent. But Islam is a peaceful religion. And they talk about how Islam